Hello everyone, my name's Punk and I am from the Vancouver Titans as the tank player.
I'm Askaft. I'm the head coach for the Vancouver Titans.
Hey, I'm Scott. I'm a performance coach with Adamus Esports and I work with the Vancouver Titans.
How often does the team's mental state determine who wins and who loses?
A lot of the time. In Overwatch, I think, in esports maybe in general, but Overwatch especially, like teams are good or bad depending on their mental. Bottom teams can outperform top teams just because they got the better mental. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the reasons why we've been performing pretty well this season is because we have a good team atmosphere, which helps with like staying, tight together and not crumbling under pressure. When the pressure is really tough. Generally, so we purposely selected players that have showed mental toughness before. So in situation where their team are losing a lot, where they're still performing, where they're still being good teammates. So me and Baroy valued this a lot going into the season, and this season still obviously a lot.
I mean, you can't we've talked about this before, you can't really disregard the talent level on teams and strategy and coaching and the talent level, I think, on paper of players and teams. But when it comes down to it, I think if everything's equal, in terms of those things, usually it's who can handle pressure the most, who can stay composed, who can stay confident on game day. So,
how do you assess if players are either lacking or struggling with confidence?
Lacking or struggling? I think, we've touched on that a bit with Scott. It's about just understanding, the signs. I think all of players in this team are pretty confident, but obviously, with pressure, some of the match are more heavy on pressure for some reasons, internal or external. You got to be honest about when the pressure reaches you, right? And it's also good for your teammates and your coach to recognize the signs. If a player is overactivated or underactivated compared to the usual performance. And but I think for us mostly, we have had open discussion with the players about what happens when you feel a lot of pressure. And then they can explain, and then we can see it in game, and then you can help them recognize that.
I think generally similar to what Val just said, it's you'll see people either sort of over respond to the situation or under respond, sort of overplay, right? Start doing too much, start rushing things, start overcompensating in ways, maybe getting a little bit frantic in their comms. Or if they're lacking confidence, they might go the other way, which is they might get sort of quiet and shy and hesitant. And so you can usually see it in their play in that way, in the way that they're performing, just if it's different than normal. That would be the main way that you can see it. Obviously, you can talk to players too and just see how they're feeling and what's going through their mind. But that's sort of one of the first indications.
How do you go about rebuilding your confidence when players are overplaying or underplaying?
That's a good question.
Build their confidence. I think most of the work anyways is done before that. Before you reach the actual match. The number one, from what I've read, the number one source of confidence is practice and experience in general. So if we practice very well and the players understand the macro and they know they're good, and they've had experience before and the match and everything, then they're gonna go in with confidence. You don't really build confidence just on the day off. I don't like to think it that way, that you need a big speech or you need to find mental strength somewhere in just before the match. No, this is built before. So in general, I've never seen a real issue of total lack of confidence with our guys. It just, sometimes the pressure makes you play a little bit worse, overactivation, the stuff that we talked about,
I'd add a piece to that too, because for sure, the main source of confidence is just preparation, hard work, right? Practice, experience. But a lot of the times, we can neglect the work that we've put in, sort of. We can forget that we have this whole body of work behind us, years of experience even, or the past, 3 to 6 months where we've seen what we're capable of. And I think that can get lost on players and just people in general a lot of the time. So a lot of things, we even worked on is just, can you work on your self-talk? Can you give yourself those reminders consistently. Again, not just on match day, but like consistently every single day.
How do you characterize a strong team environment from your personal perspective?
I'd say one is like on how you deal with losses or like tough times, you know, because it's very easy to just crumble or like just give up in a way and kind of, you know, break down as a team if things aren't going great. And so I think if it has a good team atmosphere, you know, you can stay afloat even if you're not performing the best like on the game, but you can still work on it and be confident that you'll get better.
I think it circles back a little bit to what I said previously. So we wanted to, me and Baroy, like the idea was to create a good team atmosphere above other things and make sure like the players are relaxed, they like each other. And we've made, the recruiting process is like mostly about the players. So we recruited players that like we knew were good teammates, even under tough times, as Leighton was saying, like it's easy to be a good teammate when you're winning all the time. You show your character when you're losing, I think. So we wanted players that have already experienced that and stayed good teammates and that we know were like, you know, could work with one another. Like when we selected the players, we were like, okay, can he fit into our system?
Yeah, there's a level of maturity that people need to have for it to all work.
Yeah.
You know, one person can ruin it by just not trying as much, so.
Honestly, I 100% agree. It starts with the people, getting the right people on board. But like what ultimately I think makes a good team environment is what I'd say like psychological safety, right? It's the ability for people to just express themselves freely without feeling like they'll be judged, right? People can take risks, make mistakes without feeling like their teammates are gonna point fingers or hold it against them. That to me is the number one predictor probably of a solid team environment and even team performance. But yeah, ultimately it starts with getting the right people on board and then just getting those people to enjoy each other's company, right? Like, and spend time together outside the game and get to know each other on a deeper level so that you can build that trust and that relationship.